Good morning, everybody. Hey, welcome to Friday, the 30th of August, last trading day of the month. And next time I'll talk to you after this will be September. So it's hard to believe that we are heading into fall after Labor Day. And hey, yesterday was, again, another kind of a mixed day in the marketplace. This morning's looking good, just like yesterday. We'll see how we finish up. We'll talk about some inflation numbers and more when Dave joins us here in just a few minutes. But let's not forget, though, in the world we live in, there are so many things that are out of our control. Let's take control of our portfolio by knowing the amount of risk we have versus the amount of risk we need to have and should have in our portfolio. Give us a call at 863-382-0037 to schedule your core retirement design. With that, we've got Dave coming up next.
Day weekend is upon us. That means, in all probability, the stock markets are going to be open today, but sometime mid-afternoon, some bird's going to start giving away free hot dogs at the door, and it's going to slow down. In the interim, there's a whole bunch of junk going on this morning. So let's check in and see what's going on with your money with the help of Phillip Statler from Statler Financial Services downtown. Phillip, good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Dave. I'm doing well as we close out the month of August, and after Labor Day, I guess it's fall, right?
Don't remind me.
Not that it feels any cooler here, but you know.
I was going to say, nothing changes until the end of October around this neck of the woods, so it doesn't feel a whole lot different. Yesterday was kind of an interesting day. We ended up with the blue chips going up nicely. The Dow gained over 0.5%, up 244. Standard & Poor's basically flat, and NASDAQ down. I'm just kind of assuming that was investors beating the snot out of NVIDIA for the entire day, because they were down 6.5%, and they would affect the S&P and NASDAQ, and they're not on the Dow, so I'm just kind of guessing that might have been the primary cause for the weirdness yesterday.
It very well could be, Dave, because even the Russell 2000 was up a little over 0.6% yesterday.
And the fact that NASDAQ lost proportionally more than the S&P with a price-weighted index like the NASDAQ one just kind of made sense to me. I'm still giggling about that. I mean, hey, our quarterly report had our sales up 122%. Our margins are close to 75% on what we sell. But oh gosh, we didn't kick as much butt as we expected to. Quarter before they were up 262%. So Wall Street decides to beat the crud out of them for a day. These investors are a tough room to play. That's all there is to it.
They are. How'd you like to be that CEO, having to play to that crowd?
Hey, don't mind me. I just doubled my sales. Oh, it wasn't what you wanted, huh? It kind of brings us up to this morning, and we can at least dose some sanity into things today now that we're done beating up NVIDIA. Government data dump out, the fabled PCE inflation rate. And we've been getting diminished expectations on it all week, saying the Fed's already locked into a rate decrease. This isn't going to make a bit of difference, but it does, at the very least, reinforce that September rate decrease isn't an overall dumb idea. Just about as expected, the overall personal consumption expenditure inflation rate was up 0.2% last month, which makes it an annualized 2.5% inflation rate. The core, getting the variable junk out, like energy and food, stuff that goes up and down, it was also up 0.2%, but there was some good news on that. Investors were expecting like 2.7% annualized rate, and the report said 2.6%, which kind of gives us some indication that at the very least we're going in the right direction still.
It does, Dave. So that was, I think that was probably some good news from that standpoint. I will say that the futures were kind of agnostic with that number. They came off their highs some once they digested everything in that report. The other thing you and I didn't talk about before we went on the air is the personal income number came in.
I didn't see that. How did we do on that?
It was a huge miss. They expected personal income to go up 0.2%. Personal income for the month of July actually fell. According to this, it's a pretty big miss, 5.5%.
Whoa!
Yeah.
My bull crud detector's going off on that. If you're going to fall 5%, I got to keep in mind these federal data dump numbers are surveys basically, and just a few years ago, you and I were giggling about something. An unemployment rate was just way out of whack, and then we find out a week later, oh, they forgot California. I remember that vividly. They've got to have missed something there. I mean, you see a 5% drop in personal income in 1 month. That's kind of the harbinger of a depression, isn't it?
Yeah.
No wonder Wall Street. No wonder Wall Street didn't react very much to it, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's one of those things. It's like, okay, where'd that come from?
I'm sorry, I'm still laughing at that. That's so far out of whack. I'm looking at a little bit of green ink on the futures this morning, but I'm not seeing a whole heck of a lot of stuff that really moves along heavily as far as reports. Today we are going to slow down. I was flippantly saying before we got on the phone together here that it's Labor Day weekend ahead, sometime probably about 2:30 or 3 in the afternoon, or even before that. Somebody's going to go out and take advantage of the free hot dogs. So I'm figuring after they take the money off the table they want to take off, it's going to be a reasonably slow day today on Wall Street. Very few of the big companies are reporting later on today, but I understand that everybody's former favorite brand of computer is suddenly getting in vogue again. Dell reported, and they kind of surprised me by a good quarter, didn't they?
They did have a good quarter, Dave. The revenue was ahead of expectations by about $500 million, and earnings per share was up as well. Came in at $1.89 versus $1.71. So some good news there for Dell. They're up a little over 5% this morning. And, after we talked about that income number, I dug a little deeper and I found the actual release. Boy, that must be a real big misprint, because here they show July in personal income actually increased by about 0.3%.
Okay, a tiny little beat. That's a little bit closer to reality. I was waiting for the release out on Tuesday saying, "Whoops, we forgot California again," or something.
Yeah, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Hey, another popular brand that reported was Lululemon. The athleisure wear, as they call it, came in, and they beat as well. A pretty good deal. They came in at $3.15 versus $2.93, and so that was good news. However, they did miss on the overall revenue number by a little bit, but they're still trading up about 3.5%.
Cool. Any other indication? I think you mentioned we saw Ulta come in too. We got a location for that in town.
We did. Ulta, well, they missed on both fronts. They were expected to make $5.30. I'm sorry, they expected to make $5.46 a share. They only made $5.30 a share, and revenue was off by a little more than $100 million. So they missed kind of on all fronts this morning for this last quarter. They're trading down about 7%.
Ooh, the pattern continues. You have a good quarter and you trade up by 5 or so. You have an off quarter and you tank by 7. This, like I said, Wall Street is becoming an incredibly tough room to play this quarter, isn't it?
It is, and let's just throw this one in there because it's a company I've not heard of, but it does give some credence to the artificial intelligence area. There's a company called Elastic NV, which is what they do is they're an artificial intelligence search company, and don't have their earnings number, but their revenue number was pretty bad. I mean, they missed pretty bad, and they've adjusted their full year range from 361 million down to about 353 million. And just to give you an idea how volatile that section is, that's got that company trading down 27.3%.
Gee, right. Which just kind of reinforces if you put it in an intelligence search company, it just means they couldn't find any intelligence anywhere. Lordy, resetting the table yesterday was an up day for the blue chips, kind of a flat day for the ones. Any index, including NVIDIA, was off, basically, is the bottom line. 45 minutes before we open this morning, what are we looking at?
Dave, we're continuing to see the Dow fall. as we get ready to go this morning. They are up still a little over 0.1%, about $53. The S&P 500 stayed pretty consistent. It's up about 0.4%. And then NASDAQ 100 up 0.75% this morning. The Russell 2000 up almost 0.5%. The commodities side of the coin, we've got silver down 0.6%, and then gold is down about 1/3%. Crude oil is well, they're actually down. They were up a little bit ago. They're actually down 0.25% to $75.72 a barrel.
Oh, good. I like the trend, too, because my delayed quote still had it over 76 a barrel. I kind of like that. Looking at the overseas markets, Asia Pacific Rim, relatively happy with everything yesterday. The overall indexes on the Asian Rim, even including mainland China, which is rare, actually up by the better part of 0.75%, looks like, in the middle. European indexes following our futures are a little bit more tentative about it, but we do have green ink basically across the continent there. On average, about 0.25% up halfway through the European trading day. While we're sitting here thinking about Labor Day, it's a good time to start thinking about retirement. And if you haven't given it any serious thought, having a plan to make sure it can happen for you the way you wanted makes a big difference. How do I find you to get a plan going, Phillip?
That's why I developed the core retirement design to help those folks design the retirement they always dreamed of. Give us a call at 863-382-0037 to schedule your core retirement analysis. And then join us this weekend for the Statler Financial Radio Show, 6 a.m. and noon on Saturday, 10 a.m. Sunday morning on Highlands News Talk 730, 95.3 FM.
And we'll be here on Monday morning to check in on Labor Day. And on Tuesday, we'll see you then, all right?
All right, man. You have a great day.
Thank you, and happy Labor Day. It's 105.7 Light FM and Statler Financial Services, Phillip Statler.
Hey, folks, again, I want to thank you for joining us today. I hope your week has gone well. Hope you have a great Labor Day. Enjoy the holiday, and I look forward to speaking to you again on Tuesday. Until then, have a great weekend. Bye now.